did not know there had been a change to Bloom's taxonomy, and that creating is now the top of the taxonomy, which I thought was really interesting. But most of the stuff, you know, I didn't have any big aha moments, as the reflection sheet said, because a lot of it was just a reminder to me to do of stuff I'd previously learned that I may have forgotten that I should be doing. So, and I just remembered John Medina's 10-minute rule, which you referred to, and I just remembered about making sure you start with the results before the actions and different things like that, that I, even today in my first period class, I was like, oh yes, I need to do this. So that's what good Pro-D is, I think.
Most of what she was saying was quite familiar to me, but it was really neat to see her emphasize some things that hadn't been emphasized as much in the past. And there were, you know, with all these sessions, there are 2 or 3 or 4, maybe a dozen things, little things sometimes, that I listen to, I hear, I see in action, I go, I gotta do that.
Daniel Pink, who wrote a wonderful book. Have you read A Whole New Mind? A few people read that? Okay, it's a fabulous book. A Whole New Mind, Why Right-Brainers Will Rule the Future. According to Daniel Pink, the information age is gone. We are done with it. And the reason we're done with it is because when people are surrounded and immersed in so much information, their focus shifts from just acquiring the information and making sense of it to really being able to work with that information in very creative ways. So the idea being that we are now in the age of creativity, as evidenced by the growth of blogs, of course, as evidenced by the number of people who are engaging in artistic and various creative pursuits.
Well, for me, because I started, first of all, I attended a workshop with other teachers in the summer where we started talking about 21st century learning. I was already on that path. I've already been thinking a lot about the changes that are going to happen in education and the big sort of macro picture of changes. So I had been thinking of the notion of the importance of creativity in education, but I think what I found provocative was her statement that the age of information is over, because we tend to think that it is the age of information now that we have all these resources at our fingertips, and it's instead the age of creativity, which says, how are you going to use this information in an original way, or how can you make it new, or how can you innovate?
There was certainly a lot of theory that she talked about that I was lucky enough to have my iPad there, so I looked it up quickly and put some web links into a document that I can look up later. So a lot of the theory I hadn't quite heard of, and she gave really good snapshots of that theory, which is good. And a lot of it I think I can put into practice in my classroom, like the multiple intelligences, you know, a new model for that. There was also a lot of good teaching tips that she modeled within the Pro-D session as well, which was really good. So it was as much practical as it was theoretical for me.
Now, I don't know about you, but my skills as a fortune teller are fairly limited. Right? We don't know what's going to be happening even 10 years out. But there are some things that we know that have changed recently, and some predictions, a few predictions we can make about right now that in the immediate future that will affect our discussion today. One of the things, and this Venn diagram comes from Apple. Apple says, you know, there are 3 major things that are changing the world today and changing our education systems. One is the globalization we referred to earlier, where there's an increasing need for our students to have that global perspective and to be comfortable working in a variety of environments, both virtual and face-to-face. A second is the technology that allows our learners to be learning 24/7, as you discussed in your conversation around the online school. And our third is the change in how people learn, our understanding of how people learn. The new field that's being referred to now as neuroeducation.
One of the things that I took away from yesterday was that Karen showed this continuum in terms of teacher choice to student choice, and then in the middle was sort of this collaboration between teacher and student, meaning that it's still teacher driven in that you ensure that the students have the skills that they need to do the work, but you offer them choice within that. But then she spoke specifically about ensuring that when you're offering the choice that it's going to be able to be based on similar time and similar assessments, and that was really key, because I have done kind of independent novel projects before, and she put up some examples and I was laughing because I'd done something similar to that years ago, and it also really clarified for me, because some of the 21st century themes that are just sort of out there as slogans almost, is let students, give students time alone and let them do their thing. But that's not what she was proposing, and that sort of helped to alleviate some of my fears about ensuring that students, yes, are allowed to be creative and encourage their initiative, but at the same time ensure that they've got the skills that they need and being shown doors to open that they may not have thought of opening before. That's the ideal collaboration.